What if the person you laugh at today is the same person who once sacrificed everything for someone like you? And what if the coins you see as worthless carry a story more valuable than gold? Airports always look polished from the outside. Floors shining like mirrors, the smell of burnt coffee drifting from kiosks, wheels of suitcases rattling on tiles. People rush past each other, chasing flights, chasing dreams. And in the middle of that rush stood Elena, holding a story no one cared to notice. Her jacket sagged on her shoulders, the fabric worn thin. Her shoes had carried her too many miles, soles almost flat. In her hand, damp with sweat, a single ticket. She had counted every coin twice, sold small belongings, skipped meals just to buy it. That ticket was her bridge to see her daughter again after years apart. She stepped to the counter. For a second, she thought relief would come. But instead, an attendant glanced at her clothes, then leaned toward a colleague and said loudly enough for strangers to hear, "Keep her away from first class. People like that don't belong there." The words hit harder than a slap. A man in a suit smirked into his phone. A woman with pearls on her ears chuckled. Elena lowered her eyes, clutched her bag close, and moved aside. She stood by the wall like furniture, present but unwanted. Nobody in that hall knew her story. They didn't know she had once built a small company with her husband. They didn't know how cancer stole him, leaving bills stacked like bricks on her chest. They didn't know she pawned her wedding ring, sold her piano, and gave away her comfort just to keep her daughter alive. All they saw was a tired woman in worn shoes. Later that night, she boarded quietly. She pressed her forehead against the window, the glass cold enough to sting. Below, the city lights shrank into tiny dots. She whispered to herself, "They see coins. They don't see the story those coins carry." Tears blurred the horizon until everything outside looked like watercolour. But life has its turns. Sometimes humiliation becomes fuel. Sometimes the very wound that cuts you is the one that makes you climb higher. The next morning, her phone rang. The deal she had fought for, cried for, begged for, finally closed. Investors signed, contracts sealed. The company she had dragged from the ashes wasn't just alive, it was flying. Cargo fleets expanded, new routes opened. Within months, her name appeared on aviation reports no one thought she would touch. And then came the impossible headline. The same airline that once mocked her was up for sale. Most laughed at the rumour. But Elena didn't laugh. She signed the papers. The woman who once stood outside first class like a nobody now owned the airline itself. When she walked back into that terminal, the echoes felt different. The clatter of wheels, the announcements, even the smell of coffee. It all belonged to her now. Attendants straightened as she passed. Passengers whispered her name. She stopped by the first-class line. Dozens of travellers waited, restless with passports in hand. Elena looked at them and spoke gently, yet sharp enough for everyone nearby to hear. "Remember this. The person you dismiss today may hold your future tomorrow. Kindness is free. Cruelty will always charge you interest." Then she walked through the gate, not hurried, not ashamed, calm, solid. Every step carried the weight of her past, but also the proof that she was no longer crushed by it. She sat in first class, not as a passenger desperate for dignity, but as the woman who owned the wings themselves. Life doesn't warn you before it turns. One night, you're humiliated for your coins. The next morning, those same coins have written a story stronger than steel. And if Elena's journey touched you, wait until you hear what happened to another woman who was told to stand outside first class like a nobody. The very next day, she returned not as a passenger, but as the owner. Click the shown video to hear the full story.